a girl who showed too much cleverness. And then her friends gave her a punishment of tickling. And then something happened next that left everyone shocked. Friends, in the dense and snowy forests of Pennsylvania. Inside an old wooden cabin, there was deep silence. Outside, icy winds were blowing, and inside the flames of the fire were dancing. 5 friends, Alex, Sophia, Mark, Jack, and Maya, had come there to spend their vacation. Maya was considered the most clever and cunning in the group. That night she played a game and cleverly hid everyone's car keys and mobile phones. Laughing, she made a condition that whoever defeated her in the game would get their belongings back. The other 4 friends got irritated by her behavior. They decided that they would give Maya a unique punishment for her cleverness. Together they grabbed Maya and tied her to a heavy wooden chair. The punishment was decided: nonstop tickling. At first Maya laughed a lot. She thought it was all a joke. Mark and Alex started tickling the soles of her feet and her ribs with feathers in their fingers. Maya's laughter echoed throughout the cabin. She shouted that she would tell everything, but her friends decided to trouble her even more. As time passed, the mood of the game began to change. About 10 minutes later, Maya's laughter suddenly stopped. Her body was still jerking, but no sound was coming out of her throat. Her eyes stayed wide open, and she kept staring at a dark corner of the cabin. Jack shook her, but her body had become stiff like stone. Suddenly, the temperature of the cabin dropped, so much that everyone's breath started appearing like steam. Then a spine-chilling event happened. Maya's feet, where the tickling was happening, began to slowly turn black. Suddenly, all the candles in the cabin went out. In the darkness, a sound came out of Maya's throat that was not of a human, but like old wood rubbing and scraping. She muttered something in a strange language, and the heavy main door of the cabin slammed shut on its own and disappeared. There was now only a solid wall there. In panic, Alex turned on his flashlight. When the light fell on the chair, everyone's senses were blown away. The chair was empty, and the ropes were lying on the floor. Just then a scratching sound came from the ceiling. When they looked up, Maya was stuck in the corner of the ceiling like a spider. Her face had turned almost 180 degrees, and she was still spreading that same terrifying smile. Whispering in the air, she said that the ancient spirit she had kept imprisoned inside herself with her cleverness had been released. Today, because of their tickling and laughter, now it was free. One by one, the flashlight lights began to go out, and the screams of the friends from inside the cabin disappeared into the silence of the forest. The next morning, when a search was carried out there, no one was found inside the cabin. On the floor, there was only a photograph of Maya with that same clever smiling face, whose eyes now looked real. The next morning, when the faint sunlight of the sun looked inside through the windows of the cabin, the silence there was so deep that even the sound of moving air echoed. When the police and rescue team arrived there, they found no sign of struggle. Cups of tea on the table were half filled, as if people had suddenly disappeared from there. But there was a strange thing. The floor of the cabin was scattered everywhere, with a fine white powder that felt like ash when touched. When the investigating officer shined the flashlight into the corners of the floor, he found Sophia's bracelet, which was completely bent as if someone had twisted it, like iron. Just then a slow scratching sound came from behind the wall. The team broke the wall with an axe, and the sight inside made their hair stand on end. Inside the hollow part of the wall, Maya's 4 friends, Alex, Sophia, Mark, and Jack, were standing. They were not dead, but their eyes had completely turned white, and the same terrifying stretched smile was frozen on their faces that Maya had on her face the previous night. All 4 of them, without blinking, were muttering in one voice that she is still tickling us. When the police tried to take them out, something like smoke began to come out of their bodies, and they turned into piles of ash right there. The same old scraping laughter that Maya had the previous night suddenly echoed throughout the cabin. Just then the officer's eyes went to the same dark corner of the ceiling. Maya was not there, but a message was carved into the wood of the ceiling with fingernails that cleverness can become punishment, but curiosity brings death. As soon as the officer read that message, the main door of the cabin slammed shut on its own. The rescue team, standing outside, saw that all the lights inside the cabin suddenly turned blue, and then, in a moment, everything became quiet. When they broke the door, there was no officer inside, only another new pile of ash on the floor, and an old wooden chair was moving on its own. Maya had now become part of that forest. a spirit that waits for those people who try to show too much cleverness. Even today, people say that when the winds blow fast there, a sound of someone laughing loudly comes from between the trees that slowly turns into a scream. After the police officer disappeared, the ground slipped from under the feet of the rescue team standing outside the cabin. They tried to break the door with axes, but the wood had become hard like stone. Suddenly, the glass windows of the cabin began to turn black as if soot was gathering inside. The people standing outside began to hear the sound of someone running, barefoot from inside. Then from inside the cabin, a slow, melodious, but terrifying voice came. It was Maya's voice, but it had a strange, heavy echo. She kept repeating the same sentence again and again. Who is next? The head of the rescue team, Stephen, stepped back and signaled his companions to move back. Then he saw that the same blue smoke that had come from Maya's feet the previous night was beginning to come out from the ground around the cabin. The trees of the forest suddenly began bending their branches downward as if they wanted to cover the cabin. Stephen pointed his flashlight at a tree and saw that human faces had appeared on the bark of the tree. Those faces were of the same missing friends, trapped in a strange mixture of pain and laughter. Suddenly, the cabin door slowly opened by itself. The scene inside had now changed. There was no furniture there, only an endlessly deep black pit. In the middle of the pit, the same wooden chair was floating in the air. No one was sitting on it, but the chair was constantly moving as if some invisible force was sitting on it and laughing loudly. Stephen gathered courage and stepped inside. As soon as his foot touched the floor, he felt that the floor was not wood, but soft and warm like human skin. Suddenly, thousands of tiny hands came out from the floor and grabbed Stephen's legs. Those hands were not pulling him, but they began to tickle his fingers and the soles of his feet like crazy. Stephen's screams turned into laughter. He fell down and began laughing uncontrollably. The companions standing outside ran toward their vehicles in fear, but the tires of their vehicles had melted. Just then, Maya came out of the darkness. Her skin had now become transparent, and her bones were clearly visible inside it. She bent near Stephen's ear and said that the cleverness is finished. Now only the punishment remains. As soon as the sun completely set, that cabin disappeared into the air with smoke. Now there was only an empty field there. There was neither ash nor any sign. Only an old worn copper key was lying there. Years later, whenever a new hunter passes through that path, he hears the innocent laughter of a girl in the air that invites him toward an old cabin. The suspense of this story is still buried in those forests of Pennsylvania. Whether Maya was actually a victim, or whether she had always been that spirit who traps humans in the web of her cleverness and brings their end. And the video ends here. And if you like the video, then please like the video and do subscribe to the channel.